Anyway, so welcome everybody, Zoom land, to our workshop meeting. The only thing on the agenda tonight is update review, code update review. We will not be taking any public comment, but everybody's more than welcome to stay and listen. And then eventually we will be holding the public hearings, which everyone can comment on the changes, and we'll give people ample opportunity to look at the documents and the changes made. So everyone will definitely be able to participate, hopefully by then in person. If not, we will figure something out, the best way to do that. Before we start, I just wanted to offer my condolences, and I'm sure the board's, to Bruce Campbell and his family. Bruce is, well, I've known Bruce since grade school, and we had a number of times of fun together, especially as altar boys. And so,
I don't picture you as an altar boy.
which we can't get right into here, but Bruce is definitely a character, and a person that I've known, my whole life. And probably if you lived in the village, Bruce, and have in some way been part of, have been part of Bruce's world. Bruce has volunteered and been elected to, a number of organizations, groups, and he was a trustee on the school board when I was there. I believe he was the president of Little League. He served the village for quite a while as trustee and in other capacities. So Bruce has been around. Also organized a lot of little sporting events and stuff. So a lot of people know Bruce, and so we'll definitely miss Bruce. And also, he was part of as an employee, helping us through the summer, doing lawns and taking care of the parks. So we'll definitely miss Bruce. And as I think everybody was pretty shocked to hear that Bruce had passed away. So my sincerest condolences, and I'm sure from the board, to Patty and Evan and to his extended family. We'll miss you. We're really sorry for your loss. So that said, we'll get on to some business, which kind of seems like, why are we doing this in the short time we have to live? But we'll get on with it. So tonight we have 3 chapters. Well, I don't know how far we'll get with any, but Marie or Fran, you can take over where we left off.
Okay. Steve is coming online.
Yeah.
I'm here. I've been here.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
Where's Sam? If you don't have Sam, then it's not complete.
He's around.
Okay, we're
He's
starting
eating
on chapter.
dinner like normal people do around this time.
So he's eating. Good for him.
Yes.
We're on chapter 71. I made some adjustments based on comments from the last time. There's a few new adjustments. So we're going to start with 71(1)A, where Maria is asking, should personal beliefs and charitable activities be removed from this statement? The statement is residents of the village of Cold Spring have an inherent interest in their personal safety, comfort, well-being, and privacy, and I took out in their residences, as well as their ability to receive information regarding matters of personal belief, political or charitable activities, and goods or services. Should personal belief and charitable activities be taken out of that statement? Anybody? Yes, no, maybe?
The reason I say that, Fran, is there had been, in a previous version, there had been statements about charitable organizations soliciting or going around, and much of that has been removed. So that's why I asked the question.
I think we reworded some of that. So do we want to pass the question, come back to the question after we look at the rest of it?
Yes.
Okay. In that paragraph also, I removed the words "in their residences," and I don't know if we should or not. Residents, excuse me, have an inherent interest in their personal safety, comfort, well-being, and privacy in their residences. That just sounded so bit redundant. I don't know if that should stay or not stay.
I'd take it out, because privacy implies your residence. It also implies when you're visiting your neighbors too. So,
Everybody good with taking it out?
Yep.
Okay, that comes out. Okay, the next, in the same section, C, Marie says it appears if this is no longer provided, that would be C3 and C4, providing equal opportunity to advocate for and against religious beliefs or political positions. The village adopts this chapter to promote the village's interest in a few things, and number 3 is providing equal opportunity to advocate for and against religious beliefs or political positions, or providing equal opportunity to advocate for and any charitable activities. Do we want to take those 2 points out? Or do we want to leave them in? This is reasons why the village adopts the chapter, to promote the village's interests in these things. The interest in providing equal opportunity.
So this is sort of associated with my comment in A,
Okay,
personal beliefs and charitable activities.
all right.
So we
Let
could
me-
come back to it.
Okay, let's come back to this. Okay. So we will move on to 71.2, applicant. Marie made a point which was true, that A was covered under B. So I removed A, the commercial enterprise licensed by the state of New York as a person or entity, and reworded B. So an applicant is now any individual who is at least 18 years of age, a corporation, a limited liability company, a limited liability partnership, a partnership, a joint venture, an association, a club or any other legal entity, a league, a fraternal organization, a joint stock company, an estate trust, a business trust, a receiver trust, a syndicate, or any other group acting as a unit. So we took out the first part about a commercial entity because it's all sort of incorporated into everything else. So is everyone good?
Yep.
Good. All right, let me just clear through all of this. Add this, do that. And and any, a. A and A. Okay, we're back to a phrase on the definition of charitable purpose. And the question goes, and let me refer down, I rewrote the definition of, it's actually not solicitor, it's actually soliciting. So if we move down to the definition of soliciting, and I added in there, in C, seeking to obtain contributions or money of any other thing of value for the benefit of any person, entity, charitable or political organization, and then added F, seeking to engage an individual in conversation at a residence or premises for the purpose of promoting a religious belief, a charitable purpose, or a political candidate or party. So if those are good, then we can refer back to the ones we just passed over.
Well, I then refer you to the phrase solicitor. Solicitor does not encompass any of those organizations or activities. Now, the only place that I can find solicitor mentioned is in the next section, 71-3, which says, unless exempted, it shall be unlawful for any person to act as a solicitor as herein defined.
Okay, so license to solicit unless exempted. Okay, so now we have
How about changing that to say, unless exempted, it shall be unlawful for any person to solicit.
okay.
Now, if we,
Where are we changing this?
71.3.
and 3.
So, and then we have to see, we have a definition of soliciting, which also includes solicit. So if we do that, then we can delete the definition of solicitor.
Yes, except that, so, yes, it would be the deletion of both A and B as solicitor.
Okay, so we would take this. So then we have to read this one more time. So it takes out basically the whole definition of solicitor.
Yes,
It deletes that. So we have the definition. I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around. My computer tends to like to do that.
Yeah, not. So we're just eliminating solicitor.
Well, yes, we're eliminating solicitor, and the definition is soliciting or solicit or solicitation,
Okay.
which
Okay.
involves any of the following activities. And
right.
then the activities include in C, seeking contributions for blah, 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 charitable political organizations. And in F, seeking to engage an individual in conversation at a residence or premise for the purpose of promoting a religious belief, a charitable purpose, or a political candidate.
I'm good with that.
We're good with that? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna add that. Add
Everyone
that.
else.
That. Did I just take something out that I shouldn't have? Okay.
So given that those changes where a license to solicit would include religious belief, political position, and charitable or activities, then if you go back to C3 and C4 do not need to be removed.
Back up to,
71-1C.
okay. So then we don't need to remove 71(1)C, providing equal opportunity to advocate for and against.
Correct.
All right. So we're not going to delete that. Okay. Okay, that's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. And also in 71(1)A, we can leave personal belief in charitable activities
Yeah.
in there.
Yes.
All right. I must admit, I'm gonna have to go back and just reread this one more time. I need a space in there. Okay. Okay, this is okay. That stays a charitable purpose. Okay. Religious belief can stay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, I need to fix up this GF. We're going to keep the paragraph in the definition of soliciting that says other activities falling within the commonly accepted definition. We're keeping that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so all right, I will fix that because somehow along the way, if I delete it, it's going to get messed up.
Yep.
I'm deleting that. Delete that. Delete that. Okay. 71(6), every application to license for a license to solicit, every applicant for a license to solicit in the village, whether individual, business, or organization, is required to submit to the village a written. So I just added or organization. And number 8(2), in detail, the particular business for which the license is requested. Instead of required is requested.
Yep.
Specifying the residence. Okay. All right. And I bounce around again.
I'm sorry. I was moving.
I'm sorry. That's okay. I don't know if it's one of us affects the other. My computer's been doing this all day. All right. In B, Marie made a point, which is right, since this is a list of requirements to receive a license, this is redundant. So at the end of B, I took out, when applicable, a solicitor must submit proof that he or she is a valid certificate of authority. Took out in order to receive a license because that is redundant. And I think I'm going to screw this up. I knew that was going to happen. Okay. And then in C, we just added Putnam County Department. Instead of County Sealer of Weights, it's actually Putnam County Department of Weights and Measures.
Can we go back to 71-6 where we added organizations on the top?
Sure.
We added organizations, right?
We added organization in the first paragraph.
Right. So in like the other paragraphs, like one, should that be name of the business and organization and/or organization? And in two, particular business and/or organization?
Yes, okay. Name of the business.
I hate to pile on this. Should it also say the individual, business, or organization?
Sure. Okay, name of the individual.
It's early. She's agreeable.
What the heck? Name of the individual business and/or organization. Or should it just say or organization?
Or organization.
Yeah, or
Name of the individual business or organization in particular, in detail, the particular two L's doesn't work. Business. For which a license is requested.
Mhm.
Location. Okay, let me just take care of that. Take care of that. Yeah.
And Fran, oh, no. Ignore me.
Okay. We could do that.
the first paragraph, there should be a space after, comma after individual. Between
There should
individual
be.
and business.
Yep. Thank you. Got it.
And you have a comma after business in the second. Or is that needed? I don't
Nope, it isn't. Got it. Okay. All right. All right, moving down. Okay, in D, just added Putnam County,
I think you're going to get in the same thing with 3 and 4, aren't you, with the changes?
probably.
I
Yeah.
thought about that, but I think here business is what is to be conducted as
Oh, right.
opposed.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And 4, okay, okay, good.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yep.
Okay. Down in D, we added Putnam County. Okay, the criminal history check. I spoke with Larry about this. Let me see. He said the Cold Spring Police Department will do the criminal history check. So that's something that they can do, which is fine. And he also said fingerprinting is not necessary if you're doing a criminal history check. And fingerprinting is not something they do anymore. And he said, if you're applying for a job in the county, it's some kind of an online process and it costs like $100 to get fingerprinting. So that wasn't something that we wanted to get into. So I took out the requirement for fingerprinting, left in the requirement for the criminal history check. So 71.7, the second paragraph. No license to solicit shall be issued pursuant to this chapter until a criminal history check has been performed on the applicant by the Cold Spring Police Department. For this purpose, the requirements are either an original or certified copy dated no more than 180 days prior to the date of application of a New York State Bureau of Criminal Identification verified criminal history report personal to the applicant, or verification by New York State Bureau of Criminal Investigation that no criminal history rising to the level of a disqualifying status exists for the applicant. And I'm sorry, Marie, I told you that I would double check with Larry on your questions. It said, should it be stated that the Cold Spring Police Department requires either one of these two? And I did not.
Oh, shame on you. But on the 71-7, criminal check for a license to solicit, how does this apply for not an individual, but a business or an organization?
I don't know. So it's another thing for me to check. I would think maybe the person who is coming in gets checked. All right, 71.7. Ask Larry.
Okay, so I just have a question about this kind of overall. So we're through this document, we're requiring somebody like Jehovah's Witnesses who go to door handing out the watchtower and stuff like that to register with the village for a license to solicit. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And anybody wanting to repave my driveway as they drive by and see me, out in the yard, they would need to get a license to solicit business that way.
Yes.
There are plenty of people that do this kind of stuff that I know never check in. Is this to protect us? Is this really ostensibly to protect us in case something bad happens?
It's intended to prevent something bad from happening.
Yeah. But do Jehovah's Witnesses ever check in with anybody and get
And I don't think they do, and this was a question I had in the beginning. They do come, I don't find them obnoxious. I don't find them a pain. We say hello, we say thank you, we say sorry, I don't take that, and they go on their merry way.
However, you could, if you're bothered by it, you could call the police. Who
Yeah.
would
And that gives you, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other piece of it, I guess, is anybody can knock on your door and say they're Jehovah's Witnesses, and
That's
they're
right.
not. So,
And I think part of the purpose is stated is for our, safety and privacy.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
personally don't want people coming to my door.
No,
I
I
don't
don't
care
either.
what they're selling.
No, I'm just thinking about the reality of actually enforcing this. But, it seems like it's more of an after the fact protection. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I've seen over the years now, a number of people, calling her on social media saying it's what are these people coming around, or I saw people coming around. And so at least, I don't think we're going to prevent it. It's like a lot of things we can enforce. We can enforce it if someone calls.
Right.
If people are going door to door trying to sell something, we can check them out and say, what are you doing? You need a license. Without it, you can do what you want.
Yeah. Okay. I
I
get it.
think.
okay, so I will ask Larry if he knows how we do a criminal history check on a company or a corporation.
Right.
If that's something.
You can always check the Better Business Bureau.
You can. A lot of small companies are not registered with the Better Business Bureau and they don't get a lot of complaints. And I'm not sure people are anxious to do that, because I have checked in a number of instances with Better Business Bureau and find that they're not showing. Now, it could be that they're registered in another state or
Yeah.
another part of the state or another area that isn't covered by the one I'm particularly looking at.
Yeah. The thing that bothers me is in 71.7 second paragraph, it says that the check is going to be performed to issue a license to solicit. If we're not going to do that, then I think we need to say something different.
Okay, no license shall be issued pursuant to this chapter until a criminal history check has been performed. All right, so we may want to reword that. Should we say something like, if requested by the village, the applicant must have a criminal history check performed by the Cold Spring Police Department?
Well,
I mean,
what did the other municipalities say here, Fran?
Hang on for a second. Let me get my chapter 71 book. See if I can put my hand on exactly where I got that.
And what we're saying here is the reason that we're doing this is because the solicitor may become privileged to knowledge of homes that are unoccupied during certain hours. If that is not the reason why we're doing this, then we should just delete the whole section.
I'm sorry, say it again, Marie.
Okay, the paragraph 1 says the reason we're doing this is because soliciting, people who solicit may become knowledgeable of homes that are unoccupied during certain hours. Right, that's the reason for the scrutinizing the background of all licensed applicants.
Maybe that's not the reason we want. Maybe we just want to make sure that people are legal when they come knocking on your door and that they're not going to be a threat in any way, whether it's knowledge of homes that are unoccupied or anything. I mean, they could be a threat for, for anything. I mean, they could just knock on your door and decide to break in.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of other reasons in addition to that, that we might want a criminal background check on people.
But keep in mind that you can do a criminal background check on people, but a license to solicit is going to be issued to individuals, businesses, and organizations. So
Can we just leave out the last part of that paragraph? It is necessary to scrutinize the background of all licensed applicants for a license to solicit.
I'm fine with deleting it, but then we need to say how we're going to scrutinize the background of businesses and organizations.
Right, which is something I need to double check on.
Okay.
Okay, I believe this came out of Beacon. No license shall be issued pursuant to this chapter until a criminal history check has been performed. A license may be refused or revoked if the applicant shall have been convicted of a misdemeanor or felony, which in the judgment of the licensing officer renders the applicant unfit or undesirable to carry on the trade or occupation involved. It is necessary to scrutinize the background, bless you, of all licensed applicants as they may become privileged to the knowledge of homes that are occupied. All applicants must be fingerprinted, which we took out. All applicants shall be charged the processing fee for a criminal history check. Okay, let me see. It just, that's
We say
basically,
a background check instead of criminal history check, background check of individual or organizations or businesses.
Do we have to be so specific about
Right.
exactly what this looking into someone's background is?
no,
Well, if you go on further, a license may be refused or revoked if the applicant or registered solicitor, and I don't think registered solicitor is still a capitalized phrase, has been convicted of a misdemeanor or felony, is on probation or on parole, has an outstanding arrest warrant, is currently subject to a protective order. All of those things sort of go away when you're talking about a business or an organization.
so we need more work on this.
Boy, it made
You wanna-
more sense the first time I read it, and now I
The more we read it, the more it doesn't make any sense.
well, the more you read it, the more we find glitches in it, like places where we can get tripped up on stuff.
All right, so this needs to be, I'm going to get rid of the fingerprinting. A license may be refused. Now, we may just,
What if we make it more general and say at discretion, that we do a background check and that applicants may be refused or license may be refused at the discretion of the board.
that,
That could lead us liable for, I'm all for leaving it vague, but at the same time, I imagine that it could lead us into a situation where we're liable people might make a claim that we're discriminatory in some way or another. You know, without being specific about how we make these determinations.
Oh, we can ask John and move ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
And Fran, when you ask John, I recommend you send him the whole chapter.
Okay, I will take a look at that.
And I'm not sure what a registered solicitor. So a registered solicitor is someone. Okay, so we've deleted the phrase, the definition of solicitor.
Mhm.
So the registered solicitor, the applicant or
The applicant applies to anybody who might be applying, whether it's an individual or a business, right?
well, what happens here is if something is found out about the person after the fact, the license is revoked.
Right.
All right, let me spend some more time on this, and we will review it again. I apologize, I will move on. Let me just ask one other thing before we move on. At 71.9, we talked about exemptions last time, and Dave, you wanted a bunch of these things you didn't think applied. I pulled a bunch of them out. Exemption for a child 18 years of age or under. So it was following activities do not require a license. So we took out the child 18 years of age or under, the person soliciting in good faith for the benefit of a bona fide fraternal organization. So we took some of that out, a person advocating or disseminating information for or against a conjunction with a religious or political position. Are we good taking all
Yeah,
of those?
Yeah, because now they need the license.
Right. Okay, we deleted this. We deleted, okay. The sale of food, ancillary, okay, so we deleted the, okay. Sale of food. This much comes out. Okay. The only thing that we did leave in person running for office in a local political race, Village of Cold Spring, Town of Phillipstown, or their representative, these persons must carry photo ID, which is visible as they're walking through the village. They don't need a license. Were we okay with that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. We're taking all persons and organizations soliciting funds solely for charitable who are exempted from the license requirements. Okay, so they're not exempted. That whole paragraph comes out. All right. Let me go back and I think that was all right. Let me go back and work on this some more. I'll rewrite something out.
Okay, Fran, 7-11. No license shall be granted to a person less than 18 years of age. So here we have the situation where Girl Scout cookie sellers come around. We're saying they're
Okay.
ineligible for a license, but selling Girl Scout cookies requires a license.
Yeah, we have to remove that.
We have to remove this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be a sports team or something like that too, that's 17 or 16.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, didn't we agree that we were going to waive a license for such a thing, right? Or at that discretion?
We were going to waive the fee.
B.
Fee, I see.
All right, let me go back on this one. And we want to move on to 134. Do you want to look at 104 first?
I want to go into 134.
because we had so much fun with this one. All right,
Is
134.
104 something we can seal a deal on now, though? Is that quick?
Well, define quick.
What's that?
There was something we got John's comments on.
And is that all we have on that one to do, to finish that?
I've
Yes.
lost, I have not looked at it.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So
So
if we
what
go,
Let's finish
go-
that and then, because we're not going to finish zoning.
yeah, but we've got to get into zone at some point. So 104, the first comment in 104, Dave, was your comment on Black Lives Matter. And John and I have gone through this. So if you go to exempt signs 104-8, Black Lives Matters is considered to be a political sign. That would be 104-8E. However, I've added in there signs containing personal expression. And John is good with that. Where John and I had a couple of problems is that the exempt signs have different square footages and different times of expiration. John's feeling was that for A, religious, school, and nonprofit organizations, their amount of square footage should be the same as for E. So religious, school, and nonprofit has been changed to 16 square feet of signage on both sides on the lot of any religious institution, school, or nonprofit organization.
Can I ask us, why are we trying to regulate something that is on the lot of something that doesn't belong to us?
Because the signs apply to all districts. So if you happen to have an R1, if you happen to have a lot in an R1 district, you have certain requirements for the signs on your lot.
So the huge Haldane sign on St. Mary's lawn, we have the ability to regulate the size of that,
Yes, we do.
even though it's not our property.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, people have people are required to follow the laws relative to signage, lighting, and zoning.
Okay.
So as it turns out, all of our religious institutions, schools, and nonprofit organizations are in R1 districts. And so John and I agreed that the total square footage for A has to be at least as large as the total square footage for E.
Okay.
Now, B, C, D, and E have a time limit on each of them. But John's feeling is that for religious schools and nonprofits, we don't need to apply a time limit. Thus far, the only thing that I can see that does not follow this is St. Mary's, which has two signs. The St. Mary's sign and then the Jewish,
Synagogue sign?
I'm
Reform
sorry?
synagogue?
I'm sorry?
Reform synagogue?
Yes.
Synagogue.
Yes, there are two signs there. And as far as that is concerned, they can apply for a variance or a permission to have the two signs. So those are the changes in 104.
So we lowered the size of construction and painting signs from 6 feet to 4 feet.
To be consistent with the non-commercial sale signs and
Okay.
political signs and signs containing personal expression. Real estate signs tend to be larger because they need to contain a bit more information on them. So that remains at 12 square feet because typically it's a two-sided sign. There's two sides to the sign so that someone going past it can see it going past it in either direction can see the for sale.
So the signs on St. Mary, the two signs on St. Mary's, will they get grandfathered in, or has this always been a one sign regulation that they just?
I'd have to go back. If you go to 104-9, non-conforming signs, the St. Mary's would be a non-conforming signs. It can stay there until it is altered, modified, changed, reconstructed, or moved.
Okay. So, I mean, I've got no problem with changing the size of the religious signs to be the same as the size for the political signs.
Yeah, they definitely have to, they should be the same.
All right,
Okay.
so that 8 becomes 16, 8 becomes 16 of signage on both sides on the lot. Many religious institution. Okay, the construction signs are going from 6 to 4, that's fine.
Yeah.
Real estate signs for the period which the lot is for rent or sale.
I'm fine with that.
So, okay. So the old Impel garage was for sale for about 25 million years. So the real estate sign could stay for as long as it's,
Yes.
okay.
Real estate sign spruced it up, so.
True.
Might have held it together.
and
At
they
least
can
people
keep
know.
They can keep changing through the
Gave us hope.
agents.
Yeah. Gave us hope. We knew that something was going to eventually happen. Okay, that.
I believe that application was approved too for the rebuild. If anyone hasn't seen it,
Really?
Yeah.
it's
It's like
very
a shell.
modern.
Yes.
I've taken a look at it. It's amazing the structure that was underneath the mess because it looks pretty sturdy. Okay, so the political signs and signs containing personal expression not to exceed 4 signs per lot. Now, the political signs can be 4 signs per lot. Yet religious institutions have to be 1. So what if we said, total 16 square feet? However many signs, 2 signs, not more than 16 square feet. Or do we just, I'm fine leaving it. If we're gonna leave it as it is, it's fine.
Okay. Let's leave it that way.
Okay, there was one other page up. I saw one other comment in the beginning. Dave said, see my comment on 104.8. Is have we taken care of that?
Yes.
Okay, so then 104 is done?
Yep.
Yay!
Hey,
Wasn't
Okay,
that
so- That was delightful. I think we should celebrate. Okay, complete. I will move that.
cheers, I've got a drink.
I don't dare. I'll fall asleep. Okay, I'll move that over. So 104 is done. 134. We've got a little over an hour. I have driven Marie crazy on this one. Okay, let's see. My computer hates me. Don't freeze.
Don't take it
what it is.
personally.
I think I know what it is, Fran. I was operating under editing. And so as I was moving my cursor around on my computer, I think it was doing the same on yours.
Oh, okay.
So I went to suggesting and maybe it won't jump now.
I will see. I'm in suggesting. Okay, the first question, we're removing the definition of motel. I'm fine with that. Everybody fine?
Mhm.
Yep,
I think we should have motels. I would love to have one.
we did that. No,
I want to live in a boathouse.
Yeah.
What do you call those things? Okay, adding camper or camping trailer.
No, that's been
True.
there. It's also includes recreational vehicle, often abbreviated as RV, which is a motor vehicle or a trailer, which includes living quarters. That was based upon Lynn's comment.
Okay, I'm good with that. I know, Lynn, you said RTV, but I guess RV is,
RV, I think, is the more,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
okay. Works for me. That takes care of that. Okay. Look at that, we've actually moved down a little bit. Okay, Okay, we went back to defining residential use, and we're talking about, that got into a whole discussion. Did we add a residential use definition in here, Maria? Did I
No,
drop
I did
it?
not.
Okay.
I did not.
Okay, so back up to the definition of, where the hell was I? Sorry, everybody. Okay, floor area of a building, the sum of the gross horizontal areas and its accessory buildings on the same lot, including basement and the attic floor areas not devoted to residential use. The definitions that I found for residential use means general household purposes, including cooking and water heating. Residential use does not include use in travel trailers, motors. Also, I found residential use means use for dwelling or recreational purposes, but does not include spaces or units primarily used for commercial income. I believe I had sent, then we went on to habitable floor areas, which was another whole mess of definitions. So those are the definitions. As Marie said, it needs to identify specific areas that are not to be counted in residential use. The areas of a kitchen, a bathroom, and stairs are commonly identified as not contributing to habitable. I'm sorry, I'm reading off here.
The basic question, we need a definition for habitable floor area. Typically, in the past, habitable floor area was identified as areas excluding bathrooms, stairs, and kitchens. And I think, Fran, you want to include bathrooms and kitchens.
Right, what I found for habitable floor area, I thought bathrooms and kitchens were included.
Closets were excluded, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it is you want, whatever you as a group want, the habitable floor area is used to measure the size of space in other sections of this chapter. So whatever it is that you want to be included or excluded, it's going to affect other areas of the chapter.
In the
So-
other areas of the chapter, what's the difference in the definitions between floor area that would apply to those sections of the chapter? Why would they have habitable area?
Hold on just a second.
Residential area or residential use or
Residential use, I don't know what to do with that in terms of a definition. Let me just go to.
do we have to have residential use there, excluding basement, attic, floor areas?
So the gross floor area of a building does contribute to calculations of the minimum size of that further contribute to lot area coverage. So for example, in R3, there's a minimum lot size. And then it further goes on to say that for each studio or one bedroom, you have to have so much square footage for a one bedroom, so much for 2 bedrooms, so much for 3 bedrooms. But let me come back to, what was your question again, Dave?
I don't know where we're habitable floor space, or where is that ever using it? I know we're defining that, right? And it seems to be a problem, and I don't know where it's used anywhere else.
Okay. Yes. So to answer that question, I need to do a find. So that is going to
And so under the definition for floor area of a building,
Hold on a
why-
second. I can't listen to you and do a search at the same
oh, I
time.
didn't know you were doing it right now. I
Yeah,
thought
I
you
am.
were.
I am. So, habitable floor area per dwelling unit, 600 square feet. That is one of the requirements for multifamily residences.
And in the chapter, we've defined habitable floor area as residential space excluding bathrooms, stairs, and kitchens, and excluding basement floor, not devoted to residential use.
Also, habitable floor area is used in God, what's going on?
I don't know, I live too close to the firehouse.
It is used in defining the space for an accessory building. It's used in defining the necessary space for an accessory building. So habitable floor area is used in two other sections of the code.
So the way we've defined habitable floor area in this chapter, it's defined as residential space excluding bathrooms and stairs, and kitchens, which sounds like residential space would generally include those.
Residential space, I mean, one could argue that it does include them, but I don't think you could say it includes stairs. I don't think you can say it includes closets.
No, it doesn't, but it does include bathrooms, stairs, kitchens, which I think we had said previously does not. I think a residential space should definitely include a kitchen. I'm not sure it should include bathrooms or stairs. The way the definition of habitable floor area reads,
I can read it. So what is it that you want excluded? You want
Word habitable. What is
so
the-
you want excluded stairs?
for habitable floor area, I would
Yes.
just exclude stairs,
And
closets and closets.
Okay, fine, I'll change that.
But why in the other sections do we need habitable? If you have an accessory building, why can't it be you need X amount of square feet? Why are we eliminating, different pieces of a house,
So
stairs and whatever.
so what you're talking, so there are two places where it comes into play. One is in multifamily housing, and the other is in accessory structures. In multifamily housing, you're defining the minimum size of an apartment. And what you want to do is say the minimum size of an apartment is at least X or Y. And so the choice was to make it a square footage using the dimensions of interior wall, from interior walls, excluding some rooms which are not habitable. So closets are not habitable, stairs are not habitable, bathrooms aren't habitable.
Yeah, but they add to the overall size of what you need.
Yes, they
For an apartment, I would think that apartment should be, you have to include those. I don't know.
So if somebody builds a house that has a closet the size of my bedroom, we don't count that because it's a closet?
This is only used in two places. One is in multifamily houses, multifamily structures, and the other is in accessory structures or accessory apartments. I can't remember.
I suggest we change those to square foot.
I-
Get away from breaking stuff down to habitable.
I mean, I understood it, when I was working in the city and you rented space, there was a difference between usable and what you paid for. You paid for everything from wall to wall, which you could use, excluded, the columns and the elevators and all the rest of that stuff. So that is sort of the way I'm relating to this.
So
But,
what you want to say then is that for multifamily housing, the requirement is 600 square feet per dwelling unit. Or,
And what is it now? 600 habitable square feet?
hold on a second, let me go to the old code. So I need to look up multifamily. I'm almost there. Almost there. So currently, the R3 multifamily does not have a minimum dwelling unit size.
so did the code update committee add that?
Yes,
So what we're looking at is,
a recommendation from,
right, okay.
So what are the, that you cited two areas where it's,
yeah,
Where-
one was in multifamily, which is R3.
right, in which section or whatever, so I can look at that.
Sure. Hold on a second. Somebody's making me jump all around here.
Sorry, it may be me.
So go to 135. Right. Somebody's jumping. 134-9. Oh, 134-9.
Mhm.
C as in Charlie. C as in Charlie. Please stop scrolling. 9.
C9?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, C9.
Okay, and is there another place? Or is that-
Yeah, there's another one. Oh, somebody keeps,
I'm
Are there
not touching
two
mine.
people on editing? Are there
Not
two people
touching.
editing?
No, I'm not touching, I'm on
under
suggested.
accessory apartments. Oh, sorry, I said it was accessory structure. It's accessory apartments. And okay. Accessory apartments. I get to it and then it moves. Accessory apartments, which is parentheses 3, F, 134-17 F 3.
Okay.
And then I think there's a third one. There is another one. Oh.
Do you want to send them? We'll just move along and then we can all look at those, and
Sure.
that way you don't have to battle. So
Okay.
let's Maria will send us wherever that's applicable, and we can take a look, see what we can do with that,
Okay.
and get away from
All
it.
right.
Let's go to something more habitable.
You sure now? Okay, where are we here?
Habitable floor area.
All right, we are at, we're still at the definitions, right?
I'm sorry, Dave, you had a question on habitable floor area. Using this definition, a 7x7 room with a 5-foot ceiling would be habitable floor area. This is talking about floor area.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what it's saying here is rooms must have a dimension of at least 7 feet in any horizontal direction. Floor area is only counted in areas of a room where the ceilings or portions of ceilings are 5 foot high or higher. All dimensions shall be measured between interior faces of walls. So yes, a 7x7 room with a ceiling of 5 feet would have a dimension of 49 square feet of habitable floor area.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get rid of your question?
So it doesn't necessarily mean somebody can actually live there. That's just the way we're defining it for measuring things.
We're defining floor area.
Mhm.
So we say that a room must have at least 7 feet in both directions.
That's a minimum.
You also, habitable floor area is only counted in rooms where the ceiling is at least 5 foot high or higher. So if you have a room that's 20 by 20 and the ceiling is 4.5 feet, that doesn't count at all. That is not habitable floor area.
But you could go from 5 foot to 6 foot, which some people might have in an attic, and that would be considered habitable floor area, which might be a problem.
Yes, that is
But
correct.
that's what it says you can have here.
That's correct.
As long as the room is 7x7.
No, that's not. Habitable floor area for attics. For attics, there's a square footage for the attic, which is counted from only in areas which are 5 foot high or higher. And there, that calculation is used to determine whether or not it's a half story or a full story.
Right.
Right. So that's primarily where the 5 feet comes in. But in addition, it says that regardless of where the room is, what floor the room is on, if it's less than 5 feet, like a knee wall, if it's less than 5 feet, it doesn't get counted as floor area.
I'm good with that.
But does the floor area start to be counted where the ceiling starts at 5 feet in a situation of a knee wall? Like, so
Yes,
if the wall is 3 feet, then it's not habitable. You come over till it's 5, and that's where you measure from.
that's right.
Okay.
Right.
But then how does that, well, I understand that. I just don't know. I mean, I'm not well versed in this chapter. So it's like, if you're looking, if it's habitable, floor area, and that means you need to abide by these dimensions for an accessory apartment, can that happen? So if you have a space that's 5 foot with a 6 foot ceiling at the center with 7x7, that's a habitable, if those measures met the measures needed for habitable floor space or whatever.
Yep.
That sounds crazy.
I mean, it doesn't mean somebody's going to live there that's their whole house. That just means that's one of the rooms that gets counted in the house.
Okay, I don't want to close that. I need to think more on that. Can we move on that one?
There are a lot of houses in Cold Spring, especially the old quarters for the foundry workers to have the upstairs where they slept. And
Yeah.
those knee walls are like 20 inches high. And then you got to come halfway across the room to get to 5 feet almost. So what's left over is a pretty narrow slot down these houses. Like
Right.
it's
So that just wouldn't be habitable, but I don't know how that translates to anything else in the.
people are using them for bedrooms now and everything.
Okay. So the next one, in a hospital, I changed the definition: an institution providing medical, diagnostic, and surgical treatment and nursing care for sick or injured people.
Okay.
Love it.
My question was, is the medical center at Butterfield considered a hospital? And you said no.
No, it is not.
I mean, to me, that's an institution provided medical diagnostic, not necessarily surgical, but medical
Uh-huh.
Oh,
It's
is it?
all three. All three.
Okay, gotcha. I'm good.
And
they have-
nurse-
What
and
about people
nurse-
that aren't sick or injured? Can't they go to a hospital for?
they can go to a hospital. They can go anywhere they want. But in terms of the zoning, hospitals are permitted only in certain districts. And this is the definition for a hospital.
So currently, we don't
Or
have a,
emergency. There's no word emergency in there. Should that be?
Nope.
no,
Don't need it.
no, this is a full-fledged hospital. Okay,
Fine with it. It's not be dead before the hospital or another.
So,
okay, moving down. Okay. My question was open space, an unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land. I said on the same lot of the building.
Yep.
And I was wondering if we should take that off. Because,
no,
okay. And
Wow.
because it sounded to me sort of
40.
unoccupied, undeveloped. So open space has to be on a piece of property where there is actually a building?
That's what it could read.
open space is counted on
Yeah,
lots
I'm not gonna cook the steak.
that contain both buildings or no buildings. Typically, open space is referred to as open to the sky.
So if it says,
The way it reads, it sounds like on the same lot. Oh, I see. So Fran's saying she wanted to cross out same lot as the building, right?
yeah, and Marie says
But it
no.
sounds like it can't be open space unless has a building on it.
No, sorry, people keep I've got to go back to the definition. People keep jumping. Why anybody is looking at page 81 is beyond me.
Unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land on the same lot as the building containing no buildings or other built structures. So if it's on the same lot as a building, but it doesn't have any buildings,
Sorry. An unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land
Right.
on the same lot which may contain no buildings or built structures.
Wouldn't it be a yard if there was a built structure there?
So a yard would be considered to be open space. Yes.
so can we, if it says unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land,
Piece of land. That's the
Right.
critical word there.
can we take out, leave on the same lot as a building and take out containing no buildings? Because isn't that redundant with unoccupied and undeveloped?
Okay, how about this? An unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land on the same lot as,
Can it just be on a lot? Isn't it open space, or does it have to be a building on the lot? If
sorry,
you had an open lot that's not being built, that's not built on, is that open space?
yes, it is.
Okay,
And-
so
and
if you have a
if-
piece of land that's open where there is a property,
Where there, no, where
Where
there's
there's
a
a building.
structure, where there is a structure.
right, then that's
So-
also open
Sorry.
space.
Sorry. So an unoccupied and an undeveloped piece of land containing no buildings or other built structures on the same lot. So on the same lot
Okay,
is
that
in
makes more
floodplain.
sense.
Okay.
So take out, so in other words, the property, I forget what you call it, on
An
the
unoccupied,
boulevard, the property on the boulevard in Kimball, that's an open space, right? It's got nothing on it. I forget what you call it, where the, come on, guys, that big piece of property.
Marathon.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I'm getting old, I can't remember these things. That's considered open space, but there's no buildings on it.
That is correct. That is
Okay, so
considered
we're
open
gonna-
space. However, on my property, which has a garage and a house, I have open space.
Right,
Okay, so
so,
an unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land containing no buildings or other built structures, that's not right then.
that's
No.
not right.
No. I'll take this offline and work on it.
It should be an unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land,
Piece of land, that's,
piece of
Yeah.
land, period, wherever it is.
Period.
no. Sorry. The open space is counted in B4A.
B4A is what? That's the hospital area?
That's Butterfield,
Right,
right? So we need a definition of open space.
right.
Okay, so I will work on it. We'll come back to it the next time we revisit 134.
But isn't it unoccupied and undeveloped piece of land on period, on a lot?
On a lot.
Right,
I'll come back to it.
okay.
Okay.
I think it's pretty, seems simple. I
No.
don't know.
No,
It could be your yard, it can be Marathon back on me, it could be an empty lot, it's open space. Anyway, okay, move ahead.
Okay, here we go.
More John.
Overnight accommodations.
We're
And
gonna,
I added short-term rentals here because I figured we had nothing else to get excited about tonight.
so do you want to have the conversation tonight about short-term rentals?
I think we should have, I think we discussed this at one point of having a chapter on short-term rentals, and I think we could fit it into our code. I don't think it necessarily has to be under here.
Yeah, it has to be in zoning because we're going to identify various zoning districts which can and cannot have short-term rentals.
I
We
added,
need a chapter on short-term rentals that refers to this, or this refers to it.
No, I'm sorry, short-term rentals, that's something that Fran inserted
I'm sorry, yeah.
yesterday.
I just
Overnight-
put in because I didn't know, I thought we should, you know, it seemed to me like in R1 districts and in B1 districts, we said we wanted short-term rentals. So I threw some stuff in there, which was totally not everything we talked about, just because I wanted to see if that's where we wanted it.
So
I don't
let me-
know if overnight accommodations and short-term rentals should be the same definition, but the way it looked.
Okay. The code update committee identified overnight accommodations as the term to use. It can be changed, but the phrase overnight accommodations is sprinkled throughout the chapter. Do you want to have the conversation tonight about what the requirements are for overnight accommodations / short-term rentals, or do you want to come back to this another night?
I think if we get into short-term rentals, that's, to me, a whole chapter in itself, and we have nothing to work off of right now. I mean, you know, right at this moment.
Okay, well, right in front of you, a dwelling occupied by the owner when paid guests are present. Maximum number of guest rooms, 3. Paid transient accommodations, no separate cooking facilities for guests. That is what the code update committee recommended.
I know we had, I mean, there's some stuff, Dave, that you wrote in that thing that you sent us, which I think could be used as part of the application for a short-term rental. which maybe doesn't necessarily have to be in here if we tie it to certain certain areas. You know, I had thrown some stuff in just because I didn't know where else to put it under the R1 district, just saying, you know, the limits of the number of nights, you know, how many could be, how many days you could have, maximum, minimum days. That was basically all I had put in there. And I've been referring back to this, and then put something in the B1 district. But I mean, there's a lot of other regulations we had that we could probably put in the application. I don't know if they need to go in the code.
They do. They need to be in the code. The code is the law. So they need to be in the code.
So we probably should discuss it at another time.
Mhm. What was the movie with Bela Lugosi? I think it was What is the Law? It was a great movie.
Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yes, it was butchered by Marlon Brando, but
Yeah.
with the midget
Right.
or small person,
Yeah. Whoa.
whatever. Anyway, it was terrible.
Okay, so next is
Sorry.
retail business. It's retail business is a phrase that is used in the code when dealing with what do I call it? Franchises and things like that. What is it called? I can't remember. An establishment.
Chains.
So an establishment, what had been the definition was an establishment selling goods to the general public for personal and household consumption. The term retail business shall include such businesses as bakeries, supermarkets is not defined. I would recommend it become grocery stores, Fran,
That's fine with me.
drugstores, florists, hardware stores, liquor stores, convenience stores. Left paren, this is new. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. However, retail business shall not include financial institutions such as banks and savings and loans associations.
So I'm fine with that. I'll change, is grocery stores defined in the?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it needs to be capitalized.
And what I did is I deleted from the definition the types of stores which we don't see in the village, like appliance stores, bedding stores, furniture stores, automotive supply stores, newsstands, shoe stores, stationery stores, to make it more relevant to the village.
Yeah. This is not meant to be exhaustive, which keeps everything. I mean, I'm fine with this way it reads now.
Okay, great.
Everyone good?
Mm.
Grocery stores, delete. Hey, look, we actually accomplished something. Okay. And it doesn't include banks. Are banks, financial institutions defined separately?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
remember.
All right. Okay, I added short-term rentals, see overnight accommodations. We'll skip over that.
Yeah.
Just to be consistent. Trailer camp, we're deleting the definition of trailer camp. It's
Correct.
not used. I'm fine with that.
Okay. So somebody's scrolling.
Sorry, not I.
So scrolling again. They're in 134. Stop scrolling. And
Sorry.
in 134.4, the zoning map has an open date. That will be filled in once the zoning map is completed. You will have seen, I put out on Google a spreadsheet that shows the tax map ID, current owner address, current zoning district, and proposed new zoning district for the zoning map, so that you could see what is being proposed.
Okay.
So,
134.5.
No changes,
134.6.
no changes. Somebody's scrolling.
Sort of, okay. 134.6, I just did a couple of things. 134.7,
Scrolling. So R1, the majority of the village is in R1 district. And you'll see here the permitted uses: one family house, not to include a house trailer, churches, parish house, public parks and playground, schools. Customary home occupation is a permitted use. And you'll see more about that later. Uses under special permit from the planning board. Conversion of a structure from a one family to a two family, or from a two family to a multiple family. Fran added 2. Left paren, 2, right paren,
where did I add that?
under 134-7.
Oh, okay.
So since we are not going to have the conversation tonight about overnight accommodations, let's just skip over that. Now, one accessory apartment is permitted on an R1 lot. This is an old permission. At some point, we're going to get to accessory buildings. And the question will be for you, should accessory apartments be permitted in accessory buildings? So just keep that in mind.
So right now, accessory building is not livable, if you want to say. It's not an apartment, right?
So Fran had a question about minimums required.
Sorry,
And Fran, throughout here, it's minimum required, not minimums. So I would
Okay.
prefer not to put the S in.
Works for me.
Okay. So for the R1, the lot size width is 75, lots is depth is 75, and the lot area is 7,500 square feet. You can't take just the width and the depth and say that's the minimum lot area. In every case, the minimum lot area size is larger than depth times width.
Okay, I was trying to calculate and wasn't coming up with it, but it's.
No. Now, so the second question that Fran had was setbacks. So setbacks are what are required within the lot. They are not additive to the lot. So if you have a lot that is 7,500 square feet, you divide that into a side yard of 10 feet on either side, a rear yard of 20 feet, and a front yard of 25 feet. All of that has to fit within your lot of 7,500 square feet.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm gonna just let it ride. It was a little bit over my pay grade, and I was trying to do some calculations which weren't coming up, but I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think
Now-
what you were doing, what I was doing at first, Fran, was I said 75 times 75. That doesn't come out to 75.
Right, and that's what I was, and then I was
So-
saying, maybe I
So,
should
but
take.
these are minimums. So if the front, you could have 100 feet in the front, as long as whatever you're multiplying it by doesn't go past 7,500 square feet.
Okay,
Doesn't
makes
come in,
sense.
no, doesn't come in
Doesn't come less.
under 7,500.
Right,
The
exactly.
minimum.
okay.
Okay,
Well-
the next one, front yard. This has been moved, and this is a disagreement that I have with Aaron. The front yard, the minimum required front yard is 25 feet. The code has always said that if there are 2 or more existing dwellings within 200 feet on each side of the proposed dwelling, except in a corner lot, on the same side of the street and within the same block in the same district, said proposed dwelling may have a front yard of 25 feet, or said proposed dwelling may have a front yard of not greater than the average setback of all existing dwellings so located. Aaron has disagreed with this. I've gone back to John, and John agrees with this wording.
So what doesn't Aaron agree with?
And what doesn't he agree?
He believes that it must, your minimum front yard must conform to the setbacks on either side of you.
So he doesn't, so if the setbacks on either side of you, on say my block, it may be what, 10 feet? I don't even know what it is.
Not
So
even.
on the side it's 10 feet, then he says you can't go to 25?
That's correct. He says you can't go to 25. And the minimum is 25. You can go to 10 if you wish to, in your case, Fran, but you don't have to.
So he wants the block to look consistent,
He wants it to line up
right?
200 feet on either side.
I mean, I see his point, but I don't think that should be a
A requirement.
requirement that you have to do that.
No.
I
No,
know,
but
I'm
wait.
thinking,
Isn't the way that's written, it's got to be 25 feet though. You can't go to 10 feet.
If you have 2 or more existing dwellings
Oh, okay.
on either side, you can go to whatever the front yard setback is for those dwellings, the average setback for those dwellings. So if you have 110, 115, 120, one that's 10, one that's 15, one that's 20, you average them out, and that's the minimum that you can choose to do.
That makes
So
sense.
when would this come into play? I mean, there's so many houses in this village that have nowhere near 25 feet.
it would come into play if you're building a new house.
So yeah, so you say you bought a house, knock on wood, God forbid, burns to the ground on Aaron Street, for example. His setback is about 8 feet. Okay, and every house on his street is about the same. So
So he could
if
build,
you bought that house, obviously you're not going to build it 25 feet back because there's not enough room, so you get a variance or whatever.
You wouldn't need, yeah, you wouldn't need a variance because.
Well, you would,
of-
because
this is
way less
as of right. This is as of right. You don't need a variance.
So the way Aaron wants it, if you want to go back 25 feet, you'd have to get a variance.
Yes,
Because he wants it to be consistent with everybody else on the block or consistent with the houses on both sides of you.
right.
even though they aren't conforming, it has nothing to do with it.
That's right.
It's more of a,
I mean, I like the fact that they're going to look nice, but
well, you couldn't, if you went back, for example, on his street, 25 feet, the back of your house would be in Nelsonville because the backyard is the line.
This one
And
says,
there's a lot of that in town, that's all.
this one says you have your choice. You can choose to do either. You are not forced to do one versus the other.
I like leaving, I mean, there's not a lot of choice in our code, so I like leaving some choice in it.
Yeah. Well, in the case of my house, I had to get a variance to put a second story on because according to Bill Bajarski, we were less than 25 feet from the street. Don't know where he was measuring from because, you know, that's another story. But I would have had the choice to just go ahead and do it because I didn't go past my house. I went up from it. So from the existing house. So according to this, the other houses that are around me, some are actually closer to the street, some are a little bit back. I wouldn't have had to gone through the variance in the first place. Is that?
I think you would take the average of the houses on the sides of you. I don't know how, was it 200 feet, whatever that is, if that's 1 yard or 2, and then you could go with that average, or you can go 25 feet or whatever you want there.
The house is already non-conforming in the first place.
What, yours?
Fine. So according to
Oh,
Bajarski.
I know.
So
If you were going to build that and it was an empty lot, you would have the option under this to build it with the average and not 25 feet, which would be
Okay.
consistent with your street.
well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's
I
how
like-
I'm reading it. Is that right, Marie?
That's right.
Okay.
like
You have
having the
you have
option.
the choice.
So,
I think the consistency on that works on for me on the streets. I don't know.
Well, I think, yeah, it's helpful for the village because it's difficult to conform to this 25-foot setback most places in the village.
Right.
So,
But I like.
Why
the
do we
way it's
have that
worded.
rule? So why do we have a rule that we can't use just for the building a new building, and then they'll have to go through a variance process again because their yard's not deep enough to build it 25 feet back and have this correct
Yeah.
setback in the
I
back.
mean, Aaron wanted it the other way. He didn't want the 25 feet. He wanted it to be up front. I mean, some people like a little bit more frontage.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good the way it reads.
Okay,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, moving down, where are we?
Is there anywhere on that, just a quick one, is there any lots in the village that are empty that this would not work with? Is there anywhere? I can't think of any. I'm just,
well, the 3 Butterfield all have 25-foot setbacks. They all conform. And that's where
right.
the majority of the construction is. When we get to talk about Marathon, it's different. And we will talk about Marathon when we get to District MU1.
But how would that, I mean, they're not, where would you compare their lots to? There's nothing 200 feet of their sides.
Well, there, once the first one goes in, it sort of sets the precedent.
Right, okay,
Right.
well, right.
With the Butterfield, what is within 200 feet? Is there any, I mean, from the property that is, you're gonna get me, the southernmost piece, I don't think there's anything within 200 feet. I don't know which buildings they're starting with. Are they starting north and going south, or?
So the Butterfield development is starting at the south.
So there's nothing within 200 feet there, right?
That is
For them to-
correct. That
For them
there's
to adjust,
nothing,
so
there's nothing within 200 feet.
they have to go 25 feet back.
Yes,
And that sets the precedent for the others.
right.
Okay. Hey, look at that. I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
You're doing good. You're doing very good.
Glad one of us does.
Listen, it took me about 10 years to figure out north, south, east, and west in this village. I know the west is the
River there,
river.
it helps.
I know the west is the river, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's my compass point too.
Okay. Okay, now we went into this overnight accommodations.
Ignore it. We'll come back to it.
Okay, that was in the R3.
Right. And your comments in R3, well, in 134.8B, we'll come back to that because that's
Okay.
overnight accommodations. I see some yellow. Okay.
That's,
Same
yeah, that's,
thing here. So Fran, on here, it was good you pointed this out. Gross floor area should be deleted from A, B, and C.
okay, so A should just say lot area per dwelling unit, studio,
so-
1-bedroom dwelling unit,
Okay, so
4,000 square feet.
sorry, and take out the of.
Okay, that comes out. Okay, that's out. Whoops, didn't know. Okay, and the same with B.
Yep.
6,500 square feet of gross floor area.
Right.
That comes out today. And one more time. That comes out.
Okay, so what this is saying is that if you're building something in an R3 zone, your lot area has to be a minimum of 27,000 square feet. And then you have to take into account what dwelling units you're going to be constructing. Each dwelling unit has a requirement for square feet, lot area square feet. So if you're doing 5 3-bedrooms, you're going to need over 40,000 square feet of lot area. Everybody got that?
Right.
And the R3 zones in the village are Springbrook, Forge Gate, the Campbell property, and then at least 2 properties on Rock Street.
Right, I forgot, didn't catch the Rock Street ones when I was looking at the map today. Okay. All right, we're at, we're at D.
Habitable flora, we'll come back to that. D, huh? Okay. Oops, somebody's scrolling.
Just add the word D3, add building percentage of lot coverage, 25. Bless you.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, let me see where else I am here. Okay, I was trying to get the, so basically in 134.9 B1 General District, if I, sorry, I think I bounced everybody, there we go. 134.9A, the following regulations apply to B1 General Business Districts. So the B1 General Business, the eastern boundary goes to just before High Street on Main Street. Is that that's what I looked at for these properties? Is that correct, Murray?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Where are you? You're 134.9?
A, you gave about the 1, 2, 3, the sixth line down, parcel 48.08-5-11.
Yeah, you had pointed that out to me.
And that's just below High Street, which is where the B district ends, right?
Correct. There
So
was,
the gas station is not in the B1 district?
hold on just a second.
The Hendricks right now is B1. And also the
Gas station and
James Hartford's
James
place
Hartford's is B1.
and the restaurant across the street.
Whistling Willie's is B1.
Then we need to, so we need to
down-
change that.
Hendricks is B1, right next to the other gas station on Wall Street.
Right.
So these, I looked at these fast on the tax map and it looked like they, 4808-511 and down below 4808-616 looks like they're just below High Street. Like that's
Fran,
what-
what I'll do is I'll go back and check the tax map IDs.
Okay, I may have,
And come back with a response on that. Downey's property is also B1.
Downey, where's Downey's property?
And the southernmost property in the village on 9D between Paulding Avenue and Bank
Oh,
Street.
okay,
Okay. Also, as it turns out, all of the property west of the railroad tracks,
right.
with the exception of Dockside and Laura Bergman's properties, those are all B1. There is a district called Recreation, Parks and Recreation or something like that. And the dock is identified as Parks and Recreation.
And that's the only area.
Oh, sorry. Currently, all of the property west of West Street is identified as Parks and Recreation.
Which west of West Street basically is
West of West Street,
all the grass up to, what about the boat club, is that?
no, that is, the boat club is identified as,
Is B1.
sorry, B1.
So the only thing basically is the grass and the bandstand in that area to,
Yep.
to Dockside and to
West Street, West Street.
to West Street.
It's Riverfront Park. It's pretty
Right.
good.
Actually, so one of the things that I sent you was a letter from Tom Impel. It's on the Google Drive. It says that his family has owned the property for a gazillion years, and he wants to make sure that you understand that that is their property, and essentially he's saying he can do whatever he wants with it. It's currently zoned as Parks and Recreation.
Where is his property? Oh, that little piece across from,
It's actually,
bef-
it's actually a buildable lot.
it is?
It's not a little piece. Yeah.
It's the piece that's across from, Moo Moo's there, right in that corner?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes right up to the cinder block wall.
Okay, let's move along here.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so you're gonna check those parcel lots?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I jumped again. Now.
So we're at 134.9B.
Sorry, I lost
So
everybody.
in 134.9B, it used to say where a building or use is proposed in this district. And we're recommending that it be changed where a building or alteration or conversion is proposed in this district. A site plan shall be submitted, which goes to the planning board. So in B1, where there's a building being proposed or an alteration being proposed or a conversion being proposed, it has to go to a site plan review.
Good with that.
Sorry?
Okay. I'm sorry, I am getting back up because I bounced down. B, there we go. Okay, got you. Okay. C, all uses permitted for multifamily residence apartments shall meet the requirements of 134.8.
Is what we have in B1 is a combination of residential, single family, multifamily, and a business/commercial.
Okay, this goes into the addition to overnight accommodation. Shall I just leave that unchecked for the time being?
Yeah, but can you accept for multifamily residences?
I believe I'm going to end up accepting the whole thing.
Okay,
Uh, Let me just see. Okay. All right, so this part, I'm just going to highlight it in yellow.
somehow retail businesses is sort of like a hanging chad there, and it should be 2.
Okay.
Yes, it should be 3.
All right. I can't hold my screen. Okay. Okay, it doesn't look totally great, but it's,
It's got 3 deleted.
yeah, I don't know why, but I'll fix it another time. Okay. All right,
Okay,
we're taking out
newspaper and job printing.
newspaper and job printing. Adding professional offices and services.
We used to have a
Removing,
printer on Main Street.
Who?
Huh?
Who's a printer on Main Street?
There used to be one where
Oh, yeah. Buttercup or Flower Cup, and yeah.
That
Yeah.
also, but now there
Jacklet?
used to be a printer that printed
Yes, I
letterhead
know.
and everything else.
Yes. Well, it used to be a lot of things on Main Street.
I don't think there's anything bad with a printer on Main Street.
before my time.
It was pretty good. I got my business cards made there.
In this section, wouldn't you want to, I guess, retail businesses, you're taking that out? Retail
No,
business?
No,
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 no.
that actually, I have to fix that number. That stays in.
Gotcha, okay.
Sorry. So we're replacing community services with commercial establishments in number 7. Adding wholesale sales, which are incidental to a retail business conducted on the premise, and deleting wholesale sales and incidental storage, providing all goods shall be stored and fully enclosed. That comes out. We're taking out car sales. We don't want them on in a B1. Hotels, stays, motels, boarding houses, rooming houses, and tourist homes. Tourist homes, we define that, right, Marie?
We took that out.
We took it out, okay.
Yeah.
So a tourist home, we're not gonna define as a
Nope.
B&B. Okay. Okay, now we get to number 13, conversion of a first floor. I think Lynn and I both had a similar question on this. Conversion of a,
What I've done is I've added in the second sentence, in addition, existing first floor storefront glass areas.
cannot be reduced during any renovation or use change. Okay, so, but you can change from a residential to commercial, right? You cannot convert
You
a
cannot,
first floor commercial to residential,
right,
and you cannot reduce any front glass area. But
right.
now, I think you said, Marie, that we can go from a residential to commercial use.
Yes,
On-
yes.
Okay.
So the silver spoon under this would not be able to do what they did.
No, the silver spoon under this could do what they did. What they wanted to do was to decrease the glass area.
But this says conversion of first floor commercial professional area to residential use is prohibited.
That's right. And
Well,
and
he changed a whole restaurant, left the glass area, but changed the rest to
a
commercial.
hotel, to a hotel, which
To a
is
hotel, okay.
fun, right?
So it's still commercial.
Right.
So commercial, in addition, existing first floor front glass areas cannot be reduced during any renovation or use change. So should we make this change from residential to commercial is allowed?
No, it says existing first floor storefront glass areas cannot be reduced when you change from residential to commercial or retail use.
Cannot be reduced during any renovation or use change or, okay, got you. Okay. Uses under the special permit from the planning board. Delete public garages and filling stations. Provided so no public garages or filling stations. So we have a filling station on the corner. That's the only one we can have at this point.
Yeah,
We have 2 filling stations.
We have 2 filling stations.
only one. This is B1. There's only one filling station in B1.
Yeah.
There's a couple major, oh Christ. There's a couple major changes in B3.
Okay.
Currently, the maximum permitted height in B3 is 2.5 stories. And the Code Update Committee is recommending that it be changed to 3 stories. In the B1 district between the railroad tracks and the end of, and essentially up to High Street.
Change it from 2.5 to 3.
Yep.
And what are they defining as 3 stories? And where are we here? Because I got lost there a bit.
Yeah, I
34 what?
134.9.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get back to it, Dave. Almost there.
With D, 134.9D, uses under special use permit from the planning board.
I'm looking for the section in 134.9, which gives them minimums.
That's the height from
Maximums.
B1. Is that what
Right.
you're looking at?
I can't find it.
E, it would be under E.
It could be if I can get there.
There
I know
should be
what I-
one that says height on it. I don't want to move mine. I think if I scroll, I move people's.
Oh, I was almost there.
I'm not touching, I got my hands up.
Okay. Okay, minimum required. So if you look at E, minimum required,
On the side, if you go to the bar on the side where it says what page, do you have that? Like,
I do.
you
Yeah,
don't.
what? Oh, you don't?
it's a little dot on the side. We're at about page 25, Dave, if that helps.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. So,
Yeah. E,
okay,
actually, yeah,
I'm at D.
and then you go to E.
Okay, we got D. Okay.
Okay.
Lot area, lot width, lot depth.
Okay, and front yard, major change, 4. The Code Update Committee is recommending that the front yard setback on B1 lots on Main Street can have a 0-foot front yard setback.
Which is basically what they have now.
Exactly, exactly.
So, I mean, even if something comes down and we rebuild it, you can't expect a new building on Main Street to have a 40-foot setback.
I agree.
Because that's-
And
Most of them are probably actually built on our property. Or close to it. I'm good with that.
Okay, I should ask you to come back one page, which is left paren 4, right paren marinas, for the docking, repair, sales, blah, 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 blah.
Right. Mhm. So it's right above that.
As it turns out, all of the property below the railroad tracks is B1, with the exception of Dockside and Laura Bergman's properties. Both of those are R1. So there is no parcel of land in the B1 district that has a minimum frontage on the Hudson River of 200 feet. Laura Bergman's property is not 200 feet wide. But I left marinas in.
All right, let me think. This is in a section talks about, was it 24? Special uses under special use permit of the planning board. Same as uses. Existing setbacks if 2 or more existing buildings are located within 200 feet on each side of the building. Okay, so we're taking out the existing setbacks. Which
Now,
was,
so what we're saying is in B1, the front yard setback is still 40 feet, except for B1 lots on Main Street.
right.
They can have a 0 front yard setback.
So the thing with the marinas.
Yeah.
The docking, repair, sales, and service of pleasure boats, restaurant facilities, all such usage shall have time. Okay. So we're leaving that as an option for something that can be done in B1.
Yep. Somebody's scrolling again.
No such use shall be established or permitted on a parcel of land less than 160,000 square feet in area.
Yep. Big piece of property.
Is there any property down there that big? Unless
Yeah,
we sell off the,
Dockside is that big. And I believe that the parcel next to the chapel is that big. That's a few acres in size.
The parcel to the
To the
south of the chapel.
north of the chapel.
Dock.
So where the
I can't remember the name.
the Downey property.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Fran?
We're on page 25,
Oh, we're
just
still-
above E, where it says 4 marinas for the docking.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, I guess we could leave that on, although I don't know. I mean, most of that property, unless the Downey property becomes up, because the rest of it is all owned by the state, right? Or owned by us.
Well, most of it is owned by the state, which is dockside.
Right.
Laura Bergman, not large enough.
Mhm.
Then there's the Ducks Riverfront Park, and then there's the and then there's the Downey property, which I think is a couple of acres.
Okay. All right, I'm good with leaving that in.
Okay,
And you took out the existing setback of right above that. I'm good with taking that out. And it's almost 8:30.
okay.
Are we done?
Well, since it's almost 8:30, I say we're done.
And so we start on, I guess,
130
page,
134.9F, and that's going to be maximum height, building height.
okay. Page 24.
And that's not convoluted.
Of course not. All right, I will go back and take a look at 71. I'll send something off to John, and we'll see where we go from that on 71. I have nothing else.
And then I've got habitable floor area, open space, and I have a note here for 134.9A. I'm gonna have to take a look at what that is.
Okay, and we've completed 104, so I'll move that on.
Okay,
So-
our next meeting is Thursday night, 6:30.
Yep.
Be there.
Be there, yes, ma'am.
Can't wait.
Motion to adjourn.
Have to go to the dentist before that, so it's just like a double pleasure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all. Have a good one.
Good night.